When we come back, the attorneys for the Floyd family, Antonio Romanucci and Ben Crump, will join us live. That's next.
A centuries in the making reckoning around racial justice struck Minneapolis like a thunderbolt. And that strike reverberated across the entire globe as we all stood and watched as George Floyd was killed. Every Minneapolis resident, every American remembers where they were when they first saw it. When they first were forced to process the incomprehensible, recognizing our historic shortcomings and what we need to do to improve going forward. There are certain events like that in world history that seem to suspend time, where the world stopped, and those moments tend to stick with us. So today's settlement reflects our shared commitment to advancing racial justice, our sustained push for progress, our commitment to Minneapolis, and our commitment and compassion to one another. We need to be unrelenting. We need to be unapologetic in our pursuit of a more equitable local government and a more just approach to community safety in our city, and we will be.
That was the mayor of Minneapolis at the press conference today with the attorneys for the family of George Floyd. And that was a very unique moment that you will rarely ever see, especially in the world of justice that we cover here on Court TV. Because what you just saw was the man who represents the city of Minneapolis, who was sued by George Floyd's family, together on stage after the lawsuit is filed and now things are settled, together. You don't see that. I mean, you sue somebody, do you think afterwards when you settle it, you kind of all get together to talk about it? That doesn't happen. But this case is so different and so much bigger than anything we've seen before, it doesn't necessarily shock me. But let's bring in Antonio Romanucci and Benjamin Crump, the attorneys who represented George Floyd's family, who announced that $27 million settlement today. Gentlemen, thanks so much for coming on. I know it's a busy day and everyone's tugging for you tonight, so we're tugging to get you on their show tonight, so we appreciate you being here. Ben, I'll start with you. What our folks at home just saw, you know, the plaintiffs and the defendants together. Tell me the significance of that.
Vinnie, it's good to see you, my friend. It is very significant because this is such an unprecedented case. I think that this is one of the most egregious, shocking documentations of an American citizen being tortured by police in history. It has been seen over 50 million times. And I do believe history will judge us in our response to this tragedy. It would judge us and our response if we are truly committed to equality, truly committed to justice, and most of all, Vinnie, if we're truly committed to humanity, because it was inhumane how Officer Derek Chauvin kept his knee on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And so I pray that history will record all of us that we declared in unity that we're better than this, America.
Antonio, at the top of the show, I was talking about criminal justice and civil justice, and I talked about something that I believe they have in common, which is deterrence. You know, someone gets sued because they did something wrong and they've got to pay for it. That is a way to deter others from engaging in that kind of conduct and changing things. Criminal justice, we know there's specific deterrence for the person who did it, but for others who are watching and saying, wait, if I do that, I could get in trouble like this guy or gal did. How do you view this number, 27 million? What type of impact do you think that will have everywhere?
Well, Vinnie, I think the number 27 million is historic. It's unprecedented. And I think it's a good wake-up call for a lot of municipalities around the country to know that if they don't police their police, if they fail to discipline their police, if they don't have accountability and transparency, there are going to be consequences. But I think what's important is that the number is historic, but so is the conscious commitment behind the number. Because there are so many non-monetary reforms that George Floyd created in his death that go along with the number that make this case unprecedented. You know, from start to beginning, you know, Ben just said it. Everything about this case is unprecedented, you know, concluding with what you talked about today. Everybody on stage together in almost harmony and concert, like molecular atoms bonding to each other. That doesn't happen. You don't see that.
Ben, when we talk about civil justice and you have a settlement, there is a sense of, okay, we've got what we wanted to get, right? We've got them to admit what they did, and we've got them to pay for it. Criminal justice, when you have a trial, nothing's guaranteed. And I'm wondering, as you sit here tonight, what will your discussions be with the family as they embark on the next chapter of all of this, which will be first the trial of Derek Chauvin? How do you prepare them for what is unpredictable?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Vinnie. It was responsible leadership from the city today to enter into this historic settlement, because that is the only thing they can control. There's nothing they can control about the criminal case. And we know from history, and you and I know personally, that when police kill black people in America unjustly, there is absolutely no guarantee that they're going to be found guilty or held accountable. And so we lean on our faith. The family leans on one another to say that the video provides all the evidence needed to hold Derek Chauvin criminally liable for killing George Floyd. And if this was a white citizen, this wouldn't even be a hard case. But because it's a black person, we all talk about, oh, this is such a difficult case. No, it isn't. Not if you believe in equal justice under the law.
Antonio, when you sued the city of Minneapolis for this, and I want to explain this to folks at home, what exactly the allegations are. We've all saw the video. We know the actions of the officers. Was there anything that the city should have done differently? And whether it's the upper folks in the police department, whether it's in the mayor's office, wherever, what are your thoughts there?
There's no doubt that the city of Minneapolis should have done something, not on the day of May 25th, 2020, but you have to understand that George Floyd's death was predicted probably years and years in the making because of this failure of the city of Minneapolis and its police department to account for officer accountability, for transparency. When they actually commit misconduct, you have to discipline them, because if you don't, then they continue to act with impunity. So we did have allegations against the city of Minneapolis, and I do believe that the city of Minneapolis took those allegations very, very seriously, because you can see with what we announced today that many of their reforms that they've put in place, if you look at the complaint and you look at their reforms, you can match those up. You can almost make two columns, column A, column B, and match those up. They took it seriously. They wanted to make change. They did it. They voted, and it culminated in this unanimous vote today on behalf of the settlement.
All right, Ben, I want to take a look at the big picture now, because I think everyone wants the same thing in some sense. With police being put on trial, and we've seen protests around the country during the summer, and they continue. Where do we find the balance where we hold police accountable, but police are still able to keep neighborhoods safe? Because unfortunately, we've seen a climb in some crime numbers around the nation as well. So how do we strike that balance where citizens are safe from crime and we are able to police the police at the same time?
Yeah, well, Vinnie, as Tony and I, we have a white paper that we presented actually to the Congressional Black Caucus talking about how we can have better policing, but also make sure that people of color are not brutalized by abuse of power. I don't think that it's mutually exclusive that either you're going to have good policing or you're not going to have communities protected. That should not be the Hobson's choice. It should be that, hold on, we can have responsible police who treat marginalized people of color like American citizens, not like somebody not worthy of respect, not worthy of dignity, not worthy of humanity. And I do believe that black people, we aren't against police, we're against bad police who kill us and brutalize us and disrespect us. I believe that we can be a more just America where George Floyd gets an opportunity to breathe because the police takes his knee off his neck, where Breonna Taylor, Tony, gets an opportunity to live because you don't unjustly disenfranchise black people by doing no not once on them. Jacob Blake Jr. in Kenosha, running away, being shot in the back. I mean, you see the two justice systems in America when you look at what happened at the Capitol with the white nationalists on January 6th. The police can de-escalate just fine when they want to. We don't want the police to go shooting and killing the white nationalists like what happened on January 6th when they de-escalated, but just how they de-escalated there, Vinnie, why can't they de-escalate when it's young black people, young brown people? Why is it always just shoot first and ask questions later mentality?
Antonio, as the criminal case now begins, we're in the midst of jury selection. We're about halfway there. Then the trial will start March 29th. The world will be watching it. How about the family? You've only got that one spot in the courtroom for family members because of the COVID restrictions. How will they watch this, and how will they be able to? I feel like they need to be able to participate in some sense, and I think that's what's getting lost right now because of the restrictions that we have with the number of people that can be in there. So how will they do that? What will the day-to-day be for the family as this criminal trial gets underway?
Well, I think that's correct. Part of justice is being able to close the books, is being able to turn the page on this. And without the family being together at that trial, being able to really absorb what's happening on a day-to-day basis and singling out one person at a time, it's hard. But I have to say the family has handled it with such class and dignity in choosing one person each day. They have a schedule. They know who's going to go day by day. The rest of the family, we just talk to them. They will be watching that trial together. If someone's not in that courtroom, they will be watching the trial together because they need that shared experience in order to relieve the emotions that they have. Let me say this. Ben has said it so well so many times, that George Floyd was tortured on the streets of America. And that poor man was, for those 9 minutes that he was on the street, and maybe even longer while they tried to shove him in that police car. His family is being tortured every day since that trial, reliving what's happened, knowing that their brother died or their family member died in that same way. This is very, very hard for them.
Tony Romanucci, Ben Crump, a busy, busy day for you. A job well done in getting that settlement done quick and not dragging out. Civil cases, folks, can take years. Trust me, I used to do them. They can take years. This one did not. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Tony. I know you got to catch a plane or something or a train.
Thank you, Vinnie.
So please come back during the trial, gentlemen. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Vinnie.
Yes, sir, brother.
Good night.